Good morning, everybody. MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new handicapping video. We're going to preview today's NCAA basketball matchups. We don't have a lot. It's like 12. So we can really get in depth analyzing those. And also, too, got a huge announcement. I'm going to go ahead and make it now. My college basketball power rankings are going to be open and free to the general public today. So I'm going to give you those now. I probably won't make a video tomorrow, but you will also have access to those tomorrow. And it's very simple. You go to MGCovers.com, click on Power Rankings, scroll down until you see NCAA Basketball Power Rankings. Click on that link, and you will have access to those for free for today and tomorrow. Before we start the video, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. Greatly appreciate all the subscribers. I've gotten a lot of messages from people asking questions about videos, etc., etc. And if you want to follow me on social media, I am MGCovers, covers spelled with a Z. That's also on Twitter. You get a lot of information on my sports handicapping information if you follow me on Instagram. I give out a lot of just little nuggets, things that I see that I don't have time to make a video about. Sometimes it's a play that I see some reverse line movement in. I might send that out, etc., etc. So, all right, so we're going to dive into today's power rankings. I want to look at yesterday. This was a game that I sent out yesterday. I posted this on Instagram. My line for this Purdue-Valparaiso matchup was Purdue -7. And early on, what you'll see in college basketball, it's very difficult for the sports books to set a really sharp line. Most of that line is driven by public perception. This was the case here. Purdue had to come back to win this one. Valparaiso, the actual game, Purdue actually won it by 7, so that favored Valparaiso. And when you're handicapping college basketball, like the majority of spread sports, you're looking for a nice differential. And in this case, we had a 7.5 point differential in favor of Valparaiso. So that would favor them. And, I would say what would be the minimum differential I would consider? Probably at least 3, meaning if our line was -6 and the sportsbook line was -3, that would be a differential in favor of the favorite and a potential play. So let's go ahead and dive into today's matchups. And the big game everybody's pumped to see is Gonzaga-Baylor. Probably the two best teams in college basketball via the rankings. They're both with 1 and 2. So this will be a really awesome matchup. Right now, our power rankings have Baylor as the favorite. Now, one thing about my power rankings, it is driven off of defensive stats. And I'm not going to get into the details about why that's the best way to, or at least for me, that my model has had success just using defensive stats. It's similar to the NBA model, which I had a lot of success with over the years. But defensive stats, generally the premise behind it is if, most teams shoot the ball fairly well, but even if a good shooting team, a good offensive team plays a good defensive team, that defensive team is definitely going to slow them down. You saw that when West Virginia played Gonzaga. My power rankings had West Virginia as the, I don't know if I had them as the favorite, but I had them covering, and they did against Gonzaga. So this is a sport where defense does matter. So that's why the power rankings favor defense. So my line is effectively Baylor -4, Gonzaga's +4. The actual line, obviously, is Gonzaga is the favorite here at -3. So that gives us a 7-point differential in favor of Baylor. However, Baylor is a heavy public team getting 59% of the tickets. So me personally, I wouldn't touch this game for that reason. And it really hasn't moved that much. It opened at +3.5, and now it's moved down to +3. So a little bit of reverse line movement in favor of Gonzaga. So it would probably be a no play for me. Now, I'm not going to go through the criteria for games. I try to take games where teams had played at least 3 games so that we have some stats. Because if a team's only played 1 game, 2 games, it's not really a just like college football. You want to see at least 3 games in there. Ideally, the model works best when we have 5 games. So maybe in a couple weeks, most all college basketball teams will have played or most of them will have played 5 games. So the next game we're going to look at is Radford and East Carolina. Our line is Radford -1. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I think this was one of the ones that I didn't see listed in the book. This game may be postponed. I'm not sure. I do not see that listed at this book that I'm looking at now. So we will skip that one. We'll go to High Point and Northern Florida. Our line is High Point +1, Northern Florida -1. Let me scroll down. Again, this could be one that was canceled as well. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't see that one as well. All right, let's keep rolling. Illinois, Chicago. We have them as the favorite -5 against Ball State. Ball State's +5. And I did see this one earlier, so I'm pretty sure that Ball State was the favorite. Yeah, Ball State is -5.5. And they are the non-public team. Majority of money is on Illinois, Chicago at +5.5. So this line would favor. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I got confused. Yeah, our line is Illinois, Chicago -5, and the actual sportsbook line is Illinois, Chicago +5.5. So that would definitely favor Illinois, Chicago with a 10-point differential there. Furman and College of Charleston. Actually, that is Charleston, West Virginia. I'll have to remove that. I just now saw that mistake. It has this sports book. Let me make sure that's right, y'all. So it has this particular sports book. It's saying that's Charleston, West Virginia, and not College of Charleston. Let me scroll down here and see. No, that is College of Charleston. So our line is Furman -6. College of Charleston +6. The actual line is Furman -7.5. So not really a lot of value there to consider that a play. Next game, you get some really obscure teams, some teams that you may have never heard of, but they do have basketball teams. This is an example here. You got Nebraska Omaha as the dog at +6, Edwardsville at -6. And the actual line is Nebraska Omaha -4, and you have Edwardsville at +4.5 sportsbook line. So there we have a 10-point differential in favor of Edwardsville. Edwardsville currently getting 44% of the tickets, so that would definitely be a consideration of a play for Edwardsville. And one thing you want to do, just a quick, just a bullet point checklist to handicapping these games. You want to look at our line. That's the very first thing to see if you have value. Compare that to the sportsbook line. And if nothing else, read a couple of previews. So that will give you some backstory. Maybe a team is playing their third game in 4 days or third game in 5 days. They're going to be fatigued. That might be something you should consider handicapping situationally. Always college coaching matters in college basketball as well, just like college football. Teams that have better coaches tend to cover more often. So that's definitely something I would consider. Those three, if you look at those three, the line, if it's a non-public team, you want to focus on that. You don't want to play public teams, and read a couple previews. Thecovers.com gives you really good previews. There's a couple other websites as well. All right, so those are the lines for those 6 games. Let's look at the next 6 here. We have Lipscomb and Arkansas. We have Arkansas -4. I don't think there was much value in this one. I looked at it earlier. Let's see here. I don't know why I'm not finding these games here. Hopefully that one is not canceled, but like I say, it's a sort of a fluid situation whether games are being played or not. So we'll skip that. We'll go to my Gamecocks +13. Houston is -13. Now, I want to point this out too. One thing in college basketball that's different from a lot of other sports that I handicap, I will use my line compared to the sportsbook line as confirmation. What I mean by that is if, like, let's take that Purdue game. Let's say if the game was the line, sportsbook line was minus 14, and then my line will say minus 13. A lot of times that's confirmation that they will cover that number. I've just found that over the years to be a good way to handicap, whereas the game that we talked about earlier, the Valparaiso game, it was minus 7, so that did favor Valparaiso. But a lot of times in these big spreads, if I have, you'll see that with like North Carolina. If North Carolina is minus 17, my line is minus 16. To me, that's confirmation that they will cover. So anyway, back to the South Carolina-Houston game. There is a lot of value here with Houston in this one. And the way that I handicap, this will probably end up being a play, to be honest with you guys. We have Houston minus 13. They're currently minus 9, getting 25% of the tickets. Obviously, that will change closer to game time. This game goes off at 6, but Houston would be definitely a solid play. They're a really good team to wager. They cover a lot because they are a solid defensive team. And when I did the power rankings this morning, Houston would be, believe it or not, via my power rankings, ranked ahead of Gonzaga as well as Baylor. So that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're better, but as far as from a sports handicapping perspective, they're a really good, they're a covering machine, which I like to say a lot. So Houston definitely a strong play there. UNLV and Kansas State, we have UNLV at plus 10. We have Kansas State at minus 10. And the actual sportsbook line is Kansas State minus 2.5. So a good bit of value there with Kansas State. Right now, UNLV is getting 47% of the tickets. Kansas State getting 53%. And finally, the last game, we have BYU minus 7, Utah plus 7. BYU is a pick to plus 1. So that definitely favors BYU. So you do have some games there with some value. In a normal non-COVID year, you would have one advantage in basketball, just like a lot of sports, where there's a lot of games each day. It's difficult for the sports books to lay a good line. So you can take, especially on a Saturday, 100-something games and find, 2 or 3 games where there's some value and play those and have a really good chance of hitting those. So hopefully that helps. If you've got any questions, send me a DM. If you want to get access to these college basketball power rankings, as well as all my power rankings for all sports, and which now includes soccer, college basketball, NFL, and NBA when it starts up in, I think they're starting in, it'll start at the end of December, but we won't actually have the model up until they've played 10 games. That's $29.95 per month. It gives you access to all of those, as well as all my coaching videos for all sports that are only available to clients. So hopefully that video helps. I hope everybody has a great day, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.